So let's take a look at the big metal pieces on the other side here. So first of all, let's just make a group to differentiate between them. Okay, as we, just like we've done here. So I'll call this big metal. Okay, and yeah, so the idea, what we'll be doing is fracturing this up. So we've got lots and lots of little pieces, and then those pieces will be able to move and bend and flex. Okay, they'll all stay connected, but they'll be able to bend and, you know, to give me metal looking fractures, metal looking behavior. And then what we'll do is use that to deform the original geometry, right? So I'm going to drop a null because we're going to need access to this later. Okay, I'll call this out big metal prefracture. Okay, because the fracture geometry that we actually simulate, we're not going to want to render that. Okay, so as I said, yeah, we're going to fracture this up, and I'm just going to use the classic Voronoi to do that, because I want even pieces. I don't want any weird, you know, nothing that looks like glass or wood or, you know, concrete. Or I just want I want it to be as even as possible. So I'm just going to drop a scatter, give myself 2000 points, and give myself a lot of relaxed iteration so they're nice and even. Okay, and then drop a Voronoi fracture, which will give us constraints as well, which is really handy. Okay, connect that up, and I'll just turn on manual before it starts because it might take a while. And then I'm going to change, just as before, this will generate a name attribute, just as we've done here in the Voronoi. We'll be generating this name attribute, and we don't want this to be a different, we don't want it to be called piece, just like before, right? So we'll call this big metal. Okay, we had small, where was it? Here, small metal there, big metal here. And the rest we can leave as it is. Those groups we don't really need, but we'll just leave them. Let that run through. Oh, make sure to turn it back on to auto update. There we go. Only took a few seconds actually, but you know, it depends on your system. It might take more or less time. So just like before, I will use an RBD pack. Okay, and just drop that in there. And just like before, we don't have any proxy geometry created, but I'll just whenever I don't have any, I'll just use the original geometry just to be clean, right? And then the constraints go, you know, it's kind of easy. Just connect up the pink dots and then proxy in here, full geometry. You don't have to do that, but it's just something I do. But another thing I do want to do with this, so the constraints from that we look at, yeah, I want a null. If we take a look at the constraints, or what we can use actually, which is a cool node, use the RBD exploded view. So this takes the geometry, the constraint geometry, and the proxy, but we don't need to do that. Now, if I look at that, it will, you know, it's like your typical exploded view. But what it also does, if we click on the show constraints, we'll see how they are connected up, right? And you can see they are basically going into the center of each piece, and you know, that's okay. But for metal, you know, we want it to be connecting like around these surfaces. It'd be better to have the constraints to be connecting right along these surfaces, not into the middle of the piece, right? So what we can use is a node called RBD convert constraints, I think it's called. There you are. Drop that in. If I let's put this underneath. Okay, and then connect that there and this here. Proxy geometry on the side, and then change this to surface points, and then you can see the difference there now. Okay, so we get a lot more constraints, so this will be, it will hold together very well, and you can see that each point there is connecting to the point of its neighboring piece. And if I go into wireframe ghost, you can see the constraints don't go into the middle of the object, they just go to the surface. So this surface is constrained with this surface, and if I turn that off, you can see they go into the center, okay, and they'll be pivoting around this center point, which can give you some weird results. Cool. Okay, and that's you know, that's happening all over it. We do get a lot more constraints now, but you know, it will give us much better results. So we can get rid of this ABD exploded view, connect that up nicely there. Okay, we got this ABD pack, and I'll drop another null here for my big metal. So out big metal. Great.